Yes, Carl.
You want to come up here? Enos.
Okay. Okay, but he can I know you're my crap, brother.
You want to bring your thing and sit on? Or a chair? Get a chair.
Yeah, we probably want to get tight.
Tight.
Okay.
Oh, you want to stand behind me? Oh,
Okay. We have everybody. If everybody ready, just give me a thumb up. Okay. Good afternoon. I'm Attorney Ben Crump, along with Attorney Chance Lynch and Attorney Harry Daniels. We have the honor of representing the family of Christon Collins. It's very bittersweet this moment as we stand before you today to give you updates on the tragedy that claimed his life a year ago tomorrow. You're going to hear from his mother, Miss Joni Milburn, who is going to remind everybody what happened to her son and what we intend to do about it. The fact that we have all his family supporters here standing for Project 444. And when they thought it was just going to be swept under the rug and people were going to forget Christon Collins, nah, the Army is only growing bigger. And I use Army intentionally because Christon was a veteran. He served his country honorably. He, like many veterans in America, suffered from mental issues. And those issues led to him being in the care and custody of the DeKalb County Jail. And while he was there, inexplicably, it doesn't make sense how he ended up with fentanyl in his system. How did the drugs get into the DeKalb County Correctional Facility in the first place? I mean, as Miss Milberg and her family said, either they were in on it or they were absent-minded. It's one or the other. Negligent supervision, or they had something to do with it. Because we need answers. And they continue to try to dance around and delay and avoid the crux of the matter. We saw video where the window was busted. They had a rope hanging down the window, and they said they believed that's how they were getting drugs into the jail. Well, if you are minding your jail and minding the business of running the jail, you would know that you got a broken window with a rope hanging out of it to prevent drugs coming into your jail. Furthermore, and what's really heartbreaking to his mother and his family is the visual evidence of the last minutes of Christon Collins' life. This good young man, the last minutes of his life, where we see on a jail surveillance video after he passed out that he laid on that ground for over 3.5 hours. 3.5 hours of deliberate indifference. 3.5 hours of negligent supervision. 3.5 hours of violating his constitutional rights of giving him medical attention that was reasonably necessary. And it's just heartbreaking because we know fentanyl is an issue in society today, but we know when people have fentanyl overdoses, if you give them the Narcan in time, then their lives are saved. And so a basis of our lawsuit that we will be filing is going to focus in on that. If they would have given him medical attention in those 3.5 hours with a simple procedure of giving him Narcan, then Christon would be here today. We wouldn't need to be acknowledging the anniversary of his death. And that's why we're going to continue to fight for justice for Christon Collins, because we don't want any more of our veterans who are dealing with post-traumatic stress disorder, that we know when you're black and you're a veteran and you have mental illnesses like PTSD, that those somehow become conflated into criminal issues. And then we have people who went and protected us, protected our Constitution, not getting the benefit of the constitutional protections for their own selves. So you're going to hear from his mother, and it still is painful today as it was a year ago. And you all know how she had to get the video. She had to fight for it. Wasn't nobody helping her. That should be something to note, that these black mothers having to fight to get the truth out, like Wanda Cooper, Ahmaud Arbery's mother. I was in Raleigh, North Carolina this morning with Henrietta Mason. Her son Tyrone Mason had to fight to get the truth out, and they got body cam video of the officers conspiring to cover up his death. I mean, and over again, Joni Milburn had to fight to get to the truth. They were just going to say, oh, he did something wrong and blame it all on him. But they have blood on their hands. And no matter what they try to do, they can't get the blood off their hand. We going to get justice for Christon Collins. 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 And with that, we give you his mother, his most fierce advocate, Miss Joni Milburn.
Yes, as Mr. Crump said, not only did he lay there for 3.5 hours and no one did anything, and last year I stood before you guys sharing this, and the pain hasn't gone away. The pain hasn't stopped. The seeing it over and over in my head, in my mind, in my heart hasn't stopped. In fact, it's gotten even more deeper. Because about a month ago, I sat for over 5 hours and watched the video. And that part of the video, which hasn't been shown or hasn't been seen, is when they took him up to the 3rd floor and continued to not render aid to him. Not while he was in a jail cell, but while he was in a medical pod. In the hallway, several times, nobody did anything. He's laying on the gurney, handcuffed to the gurney,
My Lord.
with no pulse. And they took time to stop and handcuff him rather than take time to render aid. As Mr. Crump said, had they taken that same time to give him Narcan, we could be here celebrating him being in a rehab or him being in the VA getting the help that he needs. But instead, we're here. And so I not only do I would like for you to get justice,
Yes, ma'am.
but I wanted accountability.
Yes, ma'am.
Accountability, and not just from the inmate, but from the top up.
Amen.
I came here March, in fact, before March. My fight didn't start then. I came prior to that when trying to get him help. And those same windows are still with holes in them. Would you keep your house with a hole in it for a year? The winter, the summer, the fall, and then the winter again, and not protect your loved ones?
Wow.
But yet that's what happened. So if there is indeed no accountability because they're saying drugs, which the blood test still speaks, the blood still works. And so if that's indeed the case, who's responsible for the windows for having holes in them?
Yep.
And so as Mr. Crump has said to you all, and as you guys see me stand here, and I'm sure you hear the strength and you see the strength, but what about the days when I'm at home by myself?
We're with you, John.
What about the 5 hours that I sat and watched? Not the inmates, not the guards, but the medical, the nurses, the EMS walk past him and leave him handcuffed to a gurney. And you know who was the first person to render aid or to compressions? A guard who paced back and forth, like somebody do something.
My Lord.
So at what point was his accountability going to be held? It's our day today.
Yes.
But as I'm sure everyone in here, if you don't have a son, you don't have a daughter, you have a cousin, you have a nephew, you have a brother, you have a sister, you have a wife, you have a husband, you have a mother or father, it could be your day. My child wasn't in jail because of criminal things that he did, robbing, killing, stealing. He was in there because he was sick.
Yeah.
They called for he had a crisis, a mental health crisis. Get the police report. It's open records.
Yeah. We're gonna keep fighting.
So we need justice, and we need accountability. And as Mr. Crump said, the army's just growing.
Amen.
And I ain't going nowhere. I ain't going nowhere. I ain't. I'm not. Whether it's incorrect grammar or not, I know the correct. We ain't going nowhere.
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 Say his name.
Christon Collins.
Say his name.
Christon Collins.
Justice and accountability.
Amen. Amen. Thank you for inspiring us, Ms. Milburn. So, ladies and gentlemen, before we take your questions, just the news of today on top of this anniversary. As you all know, and we're very grateful, the family is very grateful that you continue to report on this story, because Christon was a good kid. I mean, he had a mental health crisis, like his mother said. He should not have been taken from the world like this. But as you all know, they charged the inmate with allegedly giving him the drugs and so forth, which I think is somewhat of a distraction, trying to say, don't look at what we did, just look at what we are claiming he did. And so I believe it's a delay tactic, and it has given them the excuse not to give us information we feel is necessary to file our lawsuit, because they say it's a pending criminal investigation, criminal case, which we hear so often when you're trying to get them to finish up an investigation so we can have a chance to get the family some measure of civil justice if they're not going to do anything criminally. So I say all that to simply say this. We are announcing that on or before Miss Joni's birthday of April 2nd, we believe our experts will be able to give us enough from the evidence that we have now to form an opinion that can be the basis for our 1983 civil rights wrongful death lawsuit on behalf of Christon Collins against DeKalb County Sheriff's Department, because she wants justice more than anything else for her birthday, and that's what we're going to fight to give her. So with that, if you have any questions, we will try to entertain them.
Can you share with us at all what they're not giving you, the sheriff's office, to file your lawsuit?
Well, the main thing we want is to know about who was in there, what other people had drug overdoses in there. We know before there was a person before that had a drug overdose, and they gave him Narcan, and he survived.
Yes.
And so we want to
Right after.
Yeah. So we want to know the number of people in DeKalb County who had drug overdoses,
Yes.
had incidents with drugs. We want to know if they had ever made reports about there being drugs in the jail. We don't think this was the first time. We want to know, as Miss Joni talked about, the rope hanging out of the window and how long they have been up there. They have surveillance video. They can show us how long the windows were broken, number one, and then number two, how long was that rope and that hanging down, getting drugs in and out of the jail. So it's that kind of information. We can't talk to you all because we got a pending criminal case.
Yeah.
I don't know why that would impede the prosecution of the person, because the facts aren't going to change. The video surveillance still going to show us how many days you had the window broken at the DeKalb County Jail and how many days the rope was hanging out of the DeKalb County Jail. The fact how many times people had overdoses in the DeKalb County Jail. The fact how many times people have incidents of drugs in the DeKalb County Jail. We do not feel those things will stop a criminal prosecution.
Have they given you any explanation as to why there's two different autopsies that are conflicting?
No.
No. Have they alluded to anything with why you mentioned no one's answering why he was on the floor for 3.5 hours. Are any guards going to be charged?
And that's the biggest question. What about, as Ms. Jones said, accountability for what you all did in either causing his death or failing to prevent his death? I mean, it's very simple, straightforward questions that we don't believe impede the criminal and prosecution of the person they have charged in this matter. I just think it's excuses to delay, hoping that Joni and the 444 Army will go away. But as she said with conviction, she ain't going nowhere. And as long as she's standing up, we standing up with her.
And just clarifying, you have not heard from the sheriff yet?
No.
No apologies still?
No.
Any other questions?
And they haven't said anything about why they never gave him Narcan? Haven't said anything.
No.
No. Criminal investigation. We can't answer none of your questions, Mr. Crump. Criminal investigation. That's the same playbook they use in every case there is.
Mr. Crump, we hear the same thing, so I know exactly.
So,
But you're confident that in your own investigation you may be able to have enough to file a lawsuit by
that's our goal.
Okay.
We want to do it by her birthday. We're going to fight like crazy to do it. And so in there, our expert may give us some more information, some further information that we can glean to try to put together why they didn't do anything and why they should be held accountable. Okay?
And April 2nd is not only my birthday, but it's the day that I buried Christian on.
Mr. Crump,
Yes, sir.
not only the windows be broken, someone froze in the jail.
You want to come to the mic? Talk about the DeKalb County negligence and malfeasance.
I'm Colonel King, President for Justice Veteran. Somebody froze in the jail. How do you freeze in a jail? Broken one. How do you freeze in a jail like that? There's accountability and there's responsibility. The sheriff will not speak to anybody. She feels that she don't have to, and we continue to go on. The citizens of DeKalb County need to speak up.
Amen.
The citizens need to speak up. Because it's her day today. It could be your day tomorrow. I want the citizens to hear this. You're paying for somebody to freeze. That family filed a lawsuit. Somebody's going to pay for that.
Amen.
And they got more than one lawsuit. Did you hear what I said? Somebody froze in the jail.
My Lord.
That's a crying shame.
Thank you, Brother Kay. Are there any other questions? If not, we will continue to keep you updated as we continue to fight for justice for Christon Collins. 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 Justice for Christon Collins.